welcome to the Leader Equation. We are really excited to be dropping episode number 28, which is awesome. I can't believe that we've done that many. And Christy and I are, we're really excited today. I know I say that every time, but today we have two guests that, they are killing it in the real estate world. And when I say killing it, I mean killing it. Their numbers speak for themselves. They're involved in so many different things. They are launching new programs and new things on a regular basis. Just going to their website's fun to see. So we're really excited to have them here today. And so today is episode number 27. We've got Veronica Figueroa, and we've got her VP of Operations, which is Anuszewski, which I got right? With EXP. And so I am Linzee Soprani. I'm the CEO of Soprani Consulting. We are the top recruiting and consulting firm in the country for all things real estate. And I am here with my lovely co-host, Christy Grossman, who's the CEO of Ops Boss Coaching, the ultimate resource for training and coaching real estate ops bosses. So welcome to the Leader Equation. So you guys have been working together for 2.5 years, right? And so just give us a brief overview of who you are so that people can get to know you just a little bit more, and then Christy will take us away after that.
Okay, so I guess I'll go first. My name is Veronica Figueroa. I am the team leader of the Figueroa team. We're out of Orlando, Florida. I think we're upward of 40 plus on the team. That's including some staff. I describe myself as just obsessed with this industry. I've been in the business for over now 15 years full-time, 17, 18 licensed. I just got pulled into this opportunity of leadership early on in the game when I was thriving in the REO market and the short sale market. And then I had to learn how to build teams across the state to manage our REO portfolio. Then when that market started shifting, went into, what I would consider traditional community farming, traditional real estate. And I decided to open a RE/MAX franchise, went indie to RE/MAX, and wanted to do the broker behind a desk and just support agents, so they say. And then I realized, wait, there was a disconnect in work ethics and getting things done. And I started developing little teams with e-leads and stuff like that. And then slowly started evolving into true team development early on in about I think it was 2011, 12, dissecting, growing. Became obsessed with this company called Zillow on what they were doing with the consumer behaviors, adopted some of their, I would say business practices into our world. And here we are 8 years later, hopefully taking over, doing some cool stuff in our market.
Definitely are. And Chris, give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, so I'm Anuszewski. I am the VP of Operations at the Figueroa team. And, prior to my real estate career, which started 2.5 years ago, I was a director of operations for another company for 13 years. I started out actually with an IT background. I came in as a IT director, and then kind of have a nerdy tech background and kind of built my way up into operations, and just really have a passion for problem solving and logistics, and decided to make a career change 2.5 years ago. Got into real estate as an agent, did that for about a year, and then I was approached with an opportunity from Veronica to step into a bigger role. And so it's been a great journey, and it's awesome. So glad to be here.
Awesome. So we've been skipping our quick fire the last couple of weeks, but I want to pick out a few of our quick fire questions because I think it just gives a good frame of reference. We were talking about this before the call. Veronica, will you just give us your numbers for last year? Because I know we're yada numbers, but your numbers were kind of amazing.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I think that's because I have amazing people. But we finished the year right upward of over 500 transactions, GCI coming in, rolling around 3.2 million. And we had some interesting startup divisions of our company. So leaving RE/MAX, having to, obviously deal with some of that transition. And then the startup of Zillow offers, we finished at around 27% profit after everything.
Phenomenal.
It was a challenge, but we made it happen. I don't know how we survived, but we made it happen.
And now in case you're listening to this later, we're in the midst of COVID-19. How was your first quarter this year?
First quarter was pretty good. Numbers came in pretty healthy. Actually, in the last in the last I would say the last 45 days, we've executed over 75 transactions, but we were operating pretty healthy January and February. P&Ls were looking pretty healthy. I think we had already closed over 120 transactions, Chris, just in the first 60 days of the year. And then obviously when COVID happened, things started to, pivot and slow down. We definitely saw a decrease, but we're excited to see this momentum. We like seeing the momentum that we're getting after the pause of people still wanting to buy. It's definitely going to have an effect as to what we originally projected for the year. We had a very ambitious year of 1,000 transactions, and we did that those numbers from last year with a true team roster of between 17 to 20 agents that made up that volume that we had, together with some of our acquisition account. So we were really excited to enter into 2020 with an ambitious goal of, hey, we can hit 1,000 transactions.
There's still a lot of time left. I have a funny feeling you guys will hit it.
Yeah.
So if you are listening for the first time, we're the Leader Equation. We are chatting with owners, founders, CEOs, and entrepreneurs, along with their shotgun leaders inside real estate and beyond, about what adds to the leadership formula, what subtracts, what divides, and most importantly, how you can multiply your results. So we're going to skip the rest of the quick fire questions. Maybe we'll come back to superpower. You guys can think about what's the other person's superpower. And I'm going to let Lindsay dive into the meat of the questions.
Yeah, so what everybody loves to hear right off the bat is how you guys came together. And I know there's a cool story there, but walk us through, what did you guys see in each other? Veronica, what did you see in Chris? Chris, what did you see in Veronica?
And Chris came on our team and out the gate swinging, was just so efficient, so professional, highest quality of service for everything that he did. He embodies, right, that agent rock star that we as team leaders say, oh my gosh, I would love to work with an agent like that. And he thrived quickly. And he had seen success on our team. And then he had also helped us identify some areas that we could improve. And when you have someone like Chris come on your team, you instantly know you have to level up. Mm-hmm. You really say, well, we got to get better, because that's the type of talent we want to attract and retain, right? And as team leaders, sometimes we're like, oh, we might look good on the outside, but on the back end, there's some holes. But with him, because I had a friendship with him, I was honest. I was like, hey, I really aspire to get to here and here and here. Well, he also was very open of like, look, I came out the gate swinging. This guy took 5 weeks off his first year in real estate. We're like, hey, the team's got your back, go enjoy. He was crushing it, closing deals while he was away. But I think with Chris, he hit that ceiling of feeling like, all right, I came out the gate swinging, I crushed it. What's next? What's next for me? Like, there's got to be something else, because, this is a contact sport. I'm loving it, but he's an overachiever. And he instantly was like, okay, so I guess I go independent. I go like, what do? I build a team. And I sat down with him and I said, hey, let's talk. What are you looking for? Tell me what fulfillment looks like for you. And the rest was history.
That's a great question.
It is a great question.
Write that down. Tell me what fulfillment looks like for you. That's a great interview question.
Well, and we sat at a Starbucks. There was a little bit of friction. There was some, friction of, we don't sometimes want to lean into conversations when we know someone may not be happy, or we know that they're like, dancing around. And I think with him, we cared enough about the friendship and the relationship and the business relationship. And I coached with John Chepp. Like I said, hey, I've been here in this position before, and I may not have always been the best leader and made the best decisions or handled things the best. How do you recommend I handle this? Because this is someone that I care about and I think is amazing, but he doesn't know some of the back end stuff that I was working on that were tremendous opportunities. I didn't have him be involved in that because it wasn't his role at the time. And I sat down with him at a Starbucks, and we sat. I thought it was either two things were going to happen. He was going to, leave and we're going to hug it out, or I could, let him know if there was alignment that there may be an opportunity. And the latter of the two happened. And here we are two years later, a year later, actually, a year and a half.
So Chris, now we just got the question, what was your answer to what does fulfillment look like to you?
So in the way she approached that question was, she actually broke it in two parts. She said, what does fulfillment look like to you? I know that you have a financial goal. What is that? So, we talked about the financial goal, right? And the second part was more of, okay, outside of financials, what else are you looking for? And she came from a place of, I would say, from the heart. And it's because we had a friendship for, prior to that time, a good seven years or so. And we had a friendship, and then she was my realtor. And then I was to give a little background before that, I was a director of operations for a company for 13 years. And I felt that I had been stagnant for quite some time, and to be honest, like, I worked from home, I made a good salary, and I had a lot of people going, why would you want to change that? Like, you have the dream job. And I just said, I just always strive for something higher, and I just can't get any higher here. There's no doors of opportunity. And that's not to say anything bad about the company. It just wasn't a right fit for me anymore. It was for a good amount of time, several years.
I was going to ask you that. So at what point, you were there 12 years, were you feeling stagnant at 8 years, at 10 years? Was it just a month before this happened? Like,
I feel like I stayed there probably a good 4 to 5 years after I started really knowing, like, when I look back, hindsight, I go, I should have left at this point. I knew that at that point it wasn't going to work out, but change is awkward and change is tough. And I had some other personal things in my life go through right around when I decided to make my career change and take a leap of faith and take my real estate exam and ask Veronica to join the team. And so for me, the reason I just gave that background, bringing it back to the Starbucks conversation, right? To our what does fulfillment look like? It came down to, I told myself when I changed career, I will never sit stagnant again. I will never know something in my heart, in my head, that it's not right and not make a change just because I'm scared of that change and I'm comfortable. So for me, when she asked that second part, it was just like, I want to sit at the big tables. I want to be a decision maker. I want to have a role where I can change not just the people's lives, like doing real estate, helping families, that's amazing. And I don't want to take anything away from that. But for me, I feel like I have a bigger effect, like helping more people that can exponentially help more people. So, I basically just told her, I said, I want a decision-making role. I want to have a bigger effect. And I want to be in those rooms with you when you're in with these top brokers, agents, teams, just people from around the industry and outside the industry. I want to be in those rooms learning from those people, just kind of elevating and masterminding. That was really what I told her. I said, if you can make that happen, I'm in.
That's awesome. And I think
I was ready to go start my own team. I was ready to go independent and then go. To me, I was like, all right, that's the next step. I'm not going to stay stagnant. So that's what drove me.
And I think that's what we see so often is, the leaders don't bring the second in command, is what we're going to say, the shotgun leader, in to those rooms a lot. And so that's so awesome that you did that, because I think a lot of people that are watching today too, they're afraid to have that conversation and say that, because sometimes we look at it as ego, right? Like there's a funkiness there, I think. And I mean, so Veronica, let me ask you, when he said all of that, was it of course you can be there? What was the response for that?
I still have the notepad, and I was writing, and I was taking notes, and I'm just shaking my head. I can remember, I remember how I felt that moment. I was like, everything he is saying he wants to do is what I need anyways from someone. I had been, I don't want to say burned. I had an experience prior to, for someone that I thought was that integrator or that second person in command that I really thought would be my successor. And it didn't work out. So there was a trust issue as well. And, you don't want to repeat the same mistakes twice. So as I'm writing this down and hearing everything that he's saying, I was like, this was the missing link. I wanted someone who thought and valued those rooms as much as I did. I've worked hard to sit at some of the tables that I sit at. I've worked hard to say, I want a voice in helping shape the future of real estate. And it's disheartening when you have all this excitement and you go back and there's not a connection back in your day-to-day operation. So I was like, the fact that he wanted that, I was like, oh my God, this is great. But I didn't want to show all those emotions. I said, here's what I said. Chris, I have a vision. And I'm working on something really special. And I know I need to do it with someone special. And I believe that person's you. If you can give me 60 days. And I said, and I'm working on something that's pretty important. And my heart is telling me it's going to turn out to be special. you're who I would love to do it with. I don't know what it's going to look like. I've made some mistakes in the past. I don't want to make those mistakes again, but I promise you that I think we could do something really special based on what you told me you wanted to accomplish. So at that moment, I realized that it was something special in the making that was going to curate at that moment. But I've made the mistake in the past that I put the carriage before the horse. So this time I said, okay, will you give me some time and do you trust me? And that was the thing. He says, yes, I trust you. And I said, okay, then this is great. Let's start from here. And in 60 days, we'll revisit this. Next thing you know, in 60 days, we're building probably one of the most, I would say, largest accounts that you would think were of our time, I think, having to build this acquisitions team, and he led it. He's truly the rock star in this.
Because you guys had the friendship prior to, you had a trust level that a lot of people don't have coming into partnership the way that you guys came into partnership. I'm curious if you had a situation, Veronica, where you were burned before. Was it hard to trust this time? Or
it was
just kind of go?
It was hard to trust, but also that's the thing is I give the benefit of the doubt. I get back up. People have forgiven me. I had to learn to forgive myself. And honestly, through my coaching with John Cheplack, I had to look in the mirror and say, where did I fail as a leader?
That was going to be my next question. You read my mind.
Yeah. Where did I have to take some ownership for some of the, mistakes or things that happened that didn't work out? And, Chris has been on this growth journey with me in this leadership growing. And even after that, we've had our hiccups. We've had our moments, and we look back and we'll laugh at it and we're like, oh my God, remember this? And he's like, wow, this really was the moment that things changed. And we were both learning based. We were willing to be coachable, and we were willing to be held accountable, which was something in the past in leadership I failed to lean into, I failed to accept. So that was really, I would say, the true, the moment of truth where I grew as a true leader. And I realized that I had to do some work personally before I could help develop other leaders.
So if other leaders are listening to us now, what would you tell them 2 things that they should actually do to work on themselves as leaders?
Oh, man.
Either one of you can answer that, because I know you're both leaders on your teams. But I think a lot of people would relate to where you were coming from.
He's seen the journey. Maybe he could speak to it, because I don't like to, I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's 2 things. Well, if I had to give 2 things, I would say number 1, it's let go of control. Understand that if you want to step out, I don't know what to say, if you want to grow, right? Like if you want to elevate your company, your business, whatever it is, whether you're a team of one person trying to build a team, or you've got 5 people, how do I take it to 10? How do I take it to 20? How do I double my production? I think one major piece is letting go of control and having trust, right? You've got to have trust that someone is going to have your back, and maybe you don't have someone that fulfills that role right now for you, but that's the person you need to look for. So I think trust and learning to let go of control. And that's something I think is probably, to me, one of the most difficult things that any person could do, because I also struggle with that. I go, no one can do it as good as I can. I'm a perfectionist. I know it's going to get done right, but I can't be everywhere at once. Veronica can't be everywhere at once. So that's a huge piece. I would say if I had a second one, it would be not leading from a top-down type leadership, right? Like you have to be willing to roll your sleeves up, and you got to be willing to kind of put the shoe on the other foot and go, okay, just like Veronica did, like, what is the fulfillment of this person? Like, what does that look like to them? Are you asking them? Are you even asking them, what is it? Some people say, what is your big why? Like, whatever, however you want to phrase it. At the end of the day, I think it's getting in and finding out, okay, what motivates Chris is different than what motivates, another one of my staff members. Or my agent, something like that. So I think it's, rather than thinking like, all right, I'm at the top and I have to give commands and things like that, I think it's a matter of finding out like what the true motivation of each of your people is, and then being there right alongside of them, arm in arm. I think that's a huge piece.
So the trust piece that you talked about, that comes up on our show a lot. And Veronica, your situation is fairly common, I think, in that people, before they find the one, which is why we have this show, like how did you finally find your one, where they've had struggles prior to that. So walking into this new relationship, what did Chris do to earn your trust? So you already had a little bit of trust level because you were friends, but in those 60 days or in the 6 months or whatever in the initial time, what did he do? How did he earn your trust?
I think he earned my respect. I really trusted him. A lot of times people see someone like Chris, and Chris reminds me a lot of me, like we're overachievers. We want to do right. We're never satisfied. We want more. And, some people, the average person will look at that as like, oh my God, like really, do you have to be so awesome? Or do you have to be this? Like, I saw him always reaching to better himself, and he would help other agents. He would give feedback. He stepped up as a leader when he wasn't even given a title as a leader. And it was everything that I would embody or want. So to me, it was like, he's the real deal. He's been in the trenches. He wasn't afraid to learn. He didn't come in pompous. He came in eager to learn, eager to help. When he ran into issues, I remember going to a listing appointment with him and giving him one of my personal clients and saying, you're the agent I want on this. He was an engineer type client. And he was like, V, like, this is stressing me out. This guy wants to, I said, Chris, I would handle it this way. And he was like, oh, I never thought about this. So he was so learning based too. And he was, although he's a little, left brain and linear in certain things, I come in and I bring that, I challenge him, or devil's advocate, and he's willing to embrace it. So for me, I think what it was is he earned my respect. And then I was watching from afar, like, man, this guy's really smart. And he thinks I'm smart. And I think together, like, we could do some cool things because he's interested in the things that I'm interested in. Yeah. There were things that he was showing. So instead of giving me resistance and saying, I don't know why why you like Zillow, or I don't know why you do this, and why is it that you're doing this, and, focus solely on the KPIs, he was believing in this vision, and he was paying me respect too, and say, yo, you've done some pretty awesome things, man. I'm proud of you. And then I'm like, I'm proud of you. And then it just started working out. And then we started talking about, what's the ideal avatar of an agent, of a successful agent. And he would say, when someone talks about the Figueroa team, I really want us to have the best agents, and our agents be good people, professional. And he wasn't even in leadership at this point. He was just describing everything he felt that we should look like and represent. And I always joke around saying we used to be the bad news bears. We finally made it to the big leagues, but when you have team members like that, and I have a lot of them like that, and others have different leadership roles, that you genuinely know that they care and believe in it. I'm willing to double down, triple down on someone like that than someone with a resume that just came fresh out of school and thinks that their paper, the diploma, is their ticket to success. Yeah. And to me, it was the respect he earned, and he was willing to grit. He never complained about whether it was a $150,000 client to a 600, whatever the price point might be. He treated everyone with respect. His colleagues, he treated with respect. Me, he saw us go through some things that could have imploded our team, and he was still there to say, you guys got this. So for me, it was just like the universe and God was talking to me like, the answer's right there. What are you going to do with it now? Get your ego out the way and build the future leaders.
I love that. What I just heard you say is humility and lack of ego for both of you. Because to be coachable, you really have to be humble.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Well, and so, obviously she has lots of ideas, right? She's the idealist. She is going to, kind of do a lot of the things. And so, which so many of us that are visionaries are like, yes, do the things. That's so fun. Chris, how do you feel about that? And how do you contain or tame that? Do you tame it?
So I don't think that it's a matter of ever being contained or tamed. I don't think you can, especially if you know Veronica like I do. She's a firecracker, and but that's her role, man, and that's why it works so well. And she said to me, she's like, I don't know why you believe in me, or I don't know why she's like, you're really smart. I don't know why you think that I'm smart, just little things like that. And I'm like, no, it's like, I'm super left brain and like logical, and like you give me a problem and I'm gonna get a solution, and I'm gonna figure out all the logistics that go around and how to make it really streamlined and hum. But you know, where I lack is like that just crazy creativity to be able to say like, there's this like crazy idea out there. Let's just go for it. You know, my logical brain will kind of hold back on that. So, you know, with her, it's awesome because she gets to go around and meet these top people and learn from other teams and things, and just come or go to this conference, just come back with these crazy ideas. She's like, "Hey, Chris." Like I get a call and I'll go, "Oh God, I know it could be like 11:30 at night," and I'm like, "What's up, Vero?" She's like, "Yeah, so blah, blah, blah." You know, she'll go on some crazy idea, and I'd be like, "Okay, all right, take it with a grain of salt." So let's figure it out. Let's do that. So you know, on one hand, it's like it's that yin and yang, right? It's like she comes up with this crazy visionary idea. Me as the integrator, the implementer, I go, okay, well, here's what we can do or what we can't do, or here's the kind of the realistic version of that. But then on the opposite side, I may say, hey, we can't do that. Like that's just too crazy. And she'll go, Chris, just like give me a second. Like let's look at it a different way. And then I'll go, you know, I never thought of it that way. Maybe this could work, or some version of it could work. So I think it's kind of like she pulls me out of that logistical kind of like shell, and I kind of pull her down a little bit, and then we just come to like a happy medium. I don't know. Like,
have you ever had an occasion where she's like, "Oh my God, I have the best idea ever," and you're like, "That is the worst idea ever," and you don't do it?
I'm trying to think. I think there's maybe.
Or did she always win?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't know if we've never not done something. Maybe it's been more of a, hey, we've got this thing going on, because obviously, you know, Veronica's like, I got this idea, and this idea, and this thing. I say, okay, all right, we've got this much resources and this much staff, and I've got this much time. So let's focus on this, and then we'll hit this. Or maybe we slide it out of the way and say, hey, you know what? This actually needs to take a back burner to this new idea. So I don't know if we ever don't do anything per se, but maybe it doesn't come out like to the full vision, but somewhere along those lines, I think.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we had a really good realization. We were 6 months into, you know, this new project that we were building last year. We had just, you know, relaunched Zillow Offers. We had moved over to EXP. We were rebranding. We were hiring staff. We were doing all these things. You know, I was wearing a lot of hats. He was wearing a lot of hats. Everybody was wearing a lot of hats. And we were going in different directions. And one thing that, you know, Chris was about to have a breakdown. He was like, I can't keep up with this woman, you know. And my coach, one of the things that I do is we have a really awesome relationship with our coach that he'll say, all right, what are we working on this week? I'm like, I'm struggling with this, or this is where we're at. And I have a really good sense of character and judgment, intuition, where I'm like, I think this person's going through something. And I can sense that Chris was, you know, really, you know, hit some emotions were high. And I gave him a coaching call with John, just himself. I said, I want you to have a coaching call with John. Just be completely honest with him. Where are you feeling? What are some of the struggles? And I do that oftentimes with my staff where I'm not in the room. So then he can come back and say, okay, Vero, this is what you need. John is, you know, not a man of many, like he's no fluff, BS, no BS, right? He got off the call. He says, you and Chris need to order rocket fuel right now. And I want you to read it by next week.
That's awesome.
He says, you read it. And then I ended up buying rocket fuel for my entire staff. I know some didn't read it. Some did. You can tell who did and who didn't. But it was that opportunity, that moment of giving Chris the opportunity to just be honest and share his frustrations with John about me. And again, it was going back to that initial conversation. He wanted to sit in some of those rooms. He wanted to be in some of those decisions. I was giving him a lot of what he was asking for, but there was still a disconnect in saying, you go to these places, you make a decision, then you come back and you're not consulting with him, and or you're not he doesn't have the same buy-in that you had because maybe he wasn't in that room with you, or you didn't share the details. And I'm like, okay. So then as I started reading Rocket Fuel and he started reading it, he started understanding, like, now I know how she operates. And I started understanding this is what causes anxiety and stress to him. I need to be better at this. Okay, Chris, what do you think about this? Hey, Chris, I'd love for you to be on this call. Hey, Chris, I'm not making this decision until you look at this and we can talk about this. And little tweaks like that changed the game for us. Now he has his own little operations call with other op leaders across the country that they get to have their own little high level masterminds. And then us visionary leaders, we get together and they all talk about us, and that's okay. We're saying, and it's interesting how little tweaks like that, a lot of times people are looking for some magic pill. It's just like, read that book, implement some of the strategies. And there's things that we've done after that we're like, dude, it's not working. But one thing that has really improved is our communication and being in sync and being on the same page. And it doesn't mean we always agree, because it doesn't mean you're always going to agree. But I think that we're both so passionate on making this work. We've put in the work. We really have just done a lot of back end stuff that we don't want to, it's not in vain, right? So when we realized like we were reaching there was friction, we were hitting a brick wall, it was because we were in the way. Ego was in the way. Our own self was in the way. So then I had to listen to what was important to him, and then he heard me out, and here we are, stronger than ever, and just learning through this journey. We're on a journey. We're not on a destination. It's not a destination. We're still growing every day in leadership.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because Linzee and I see that with the teams that we coach often, where Rainmaker is going to conferences, Rainmaker's traveling, Rainmaker's participating in all kinds of things, and the operations person is not running alongside. So what happens is you end up to be the two sled dogs going opposite directions instead of two sled dogs going really fast together. I always say to people,
now I go
together, grow together.
Yeah, I go into these meetings, and when I budget these conferences, he's automatically budgeted in. Because it's true, I can't convey the same message. Sometimes we're in the room, and if we're listening to things, we're looking at each other like, or like we see someone that we think is like, we need to meet that person. We need to pick their brain. Oh my God, we're inspired by them. Or, hey, we think you guys should connect. So it's just been a beautiful thing. And like I said, we're learning along the way. It's been fun.
We're like a tag team, for me, like I love going to those conferences because it's like, all right, she's connecting with that visionary, that leader from that team, that organization, whatever it is. And then I'm connecting with the ops person, the integrator, or whatever you want to call them on their level. So it's like, we're connecting with that same thing on two different levels, or maybe we're even in the conference and we're hearing the same thing, but we might be thinking about it in a different way. And then we come together and go, oh my God, yeah, oh yeah. Oh, and it's just awesome. It's just really awesome.
I love that. It's much more complete.
Yes.
When you're hearing someone speak, she's hearing her perspective, you're hearing yours, you put them together, it's much more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Good. Well, I hope we'll see you at the Ops Boss Leader Retreat in October. Sorry, only Ops people.
I didn't even know about that, so I'm excited.
Oh yeah.
My little ops call crew that I do every week.
That's awesome. Well, so you guys, that is, and as Christy said, I mean, we were like, yes, everything that you're saying, we're sitting there agreeing, because so many people are going this way, right? And I do believe it's very difficult for the ops person to come alongside of a visionary with all of the different thoughts that we throw out there every 2 seconds. It's hard for them to say, okay, so you heard this person's doing this and it's working really well. Now all of a sudden you want to adjust, and we move the whole boat like really fast, right? Instead of slowly making the changes. And so when you say that your communication's gotten better around all of that, give us some examples of like maybe where it was hard, and then maybe where you pivoted and now it's like, now we're moving together like this instead of it being like, woo. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'll jump in here. So, the challenges that we faced were exactly like Veronica said it was. And when I had my call with John, it was like, he said, Veronica says that you're very transparent, right? You just say it like it is. There's no fluff. There's no BS. And he goes, tell me like it is. And I said, the biggest problem I have is that there's a lack of communication on some major decision making. And it's not, from my perspective, it's not a matter of like, hey, I want you to listen to me, and if I say no, don't do that. It wasn't that at all. It was just like, hey, I would at least like to give my perspective or give my assessment, or just play a role, because that's why you hired me in this position, right? So you put me here so I could at least put in my 2 cents, take it into consideration, or just maybe how we're going to roll it out, right? So Rockefeller definitely helped with all that. And so where we were having an example of where we'd have it, where she would go to a conference and come back and say, this is the software platform that's reviving all of these leads for everybody out there. And, this is what we got to do, and we got to do it now. And then I'm like, all right, we've got Zillow offers like going like crazy right now, and the demands of that are very, very high. You know, our traditional side is going up. We've got some other things we're doing. You know, we're trying to obviously coach our agents. We're doing all the juggling. I'm like, all right, we're spinning 1,000 plates, right? And it's like, here's this really giant one, and I'm like, all right, I kind of wish we had talked about that beforehand. And that was before my call with John, right? And before we read Rocket Fuel. After that, now it's been a complete 180, right? Like she'll say, like she said, I'm included on all those big meetings. She'll even say to me, hey, I'm doing this call. You don't have to be on it. I just invited you just in case you wanted to find some time to jump in there or otherwise. And so I can prioritize. I could say, hey, you know what, Vero, I have to take care of this stuff. I'm going to let you, you know, on this one, just give me the debrief, you know, or opposite. She'll say, hey, I'm double booked. Can you handle this for me? I'm going to go do this. So it's a complete trust now that, hey, like she knows I'm fully vested in this vision and this company and this organization and team that she's built. Like I believe in this team with my whole heart. So to go back to your question, you know, I think it's, you know, the comparison now is just the understanding that, hey, I'm not the only one. I think on her part, I think it's more of an understanding. I'm not the only one that's steering this ship, that I have people below me, and not just me, but other staff members that help guide this ship along, right? And it can't just be, she operates at 1,000 million miles an hour, and not everything can go that way, exactly like the analogy you gave, right? Like that, sometimes it's got to take, and so consulting me, you know, and saying, hey, this, and that's where I could say, hey, you know what, that's great, but I think if we do that, the agents are going to go crazy. We've got to baby step this thing, you know, you know, and it's one thing to come tell me that, and I could go, yeah, let's do it, versus, you know, okay, now we got to tell 40 agents and staff members that we've got to do this. And how does that look to each one of them? How does that affect each one of them? Because while we may think it's great, not everybody might think that. So we have to take that into account.
Love that. Do you guys have what is your communication cadence? Is it, we have a formal meeting every week, we talk all the time just by text? Like, what does that look like?
We talk all the time, text, FaceTime.
Do you have time where you like sit down and go, okay, well, our annual goals are this, our 5-year goals are that, where are we, how are we doing on that? Is that a formalized process or just all the time?
You're going to teach us better how to do better at the Ops Boss training. Now,
well,
so,
you can't be there, only Chris.
Oh.
I'll teach you.
No, we so let's talk about COVID, right? Since COVID, we haven't been in person, but Chris is obviously really close to us. So there's times where he's come over. But we just had a leadership meeting. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday?
2 days ago.
They all run together.
It all blends in.
Every day is the same day.
Every day feels like the same day. You know, I'm at a beach house, and I said, Chris, let's get out of this environment. Come over. You know, we literally just ironed out some of the projects that we are working on right now. We're launching a really big project in the next couple of weeks, and we just had to tackle that. But you know, the team meeting every morning at 8:30, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Staff meetings right after our team meetings. But him and I, like, literally, we're on ops calls all the time with our other acquisition accounts. So, you know, our cadence right now is just like go, go, go. But we also know that there has to be some sort of balance, which is, again, you know, something that we're working on. But the last 6 to 8 weeks has been a new normal for us. You know, I feel like I've been working more now, 10x more than what I've ever worked. Why? And realizing like, hey, maybe we balance out these Zooms. Maybe we say no a little bit more so that we can have our time to time block and think and process and sit back and process really what we're working with, versus back to back to back to back to back, which is what it's felt like over the last 8 weeks. And then Chris will say, what can I take off your plate, Veronica? You go out there and help your national partners. You go out there and do the things you got to do. You go out, have your 30,000 foot view conversations with some of the people who are giving us all these opportunities. I'll handle this. And we're dividing and conquering more, which I think that's what coming out of this, we're going to do a lot more of that, a lot more planning, more downtime to reflect and really come and perform at an optimal level. And I realize that when we've been going really, really hard, we haven't been as optimal, right? We haven't had a chance to think and process. So I know pre-COVID, what our cadence was. You know, we'd meet every Monday. We'd have a traction meeting, traction style meeting. You know, it was, at first it was with all the staff. Then we realized we weren't as productive because it was going over some people's heads. And then we're like, okay, then it's just us. Then boom, COVID happened, and it's like, okay, now what? How do we do this? And you know, so I think we're really evolving as to what this new normal of efficiency will look like. I think we'll never go back to being 5 days a week in the office. I think he needs his days working from home where he cannot be interrupted, where I cannot be interrupted. So post COVID, which we don't know when that's going to be, I think we'll have a follow-up conversation. We'll give you a new cadence.
We'll have you back on.
Yeah.
What was, I think one of the things so you guys have been, what, 2.5 years together. One of the things I see people struggle with is that they focus on the director of operations or whatever, the shotgun leader, learning how to do as opposed to learning how to think. So Chris, either one of you can answer this. How did you learn how to think like Veronica versus just how to do the things?
So I think our friendship, our several year friendship helped a lot with that initially. And if I can give advice to, you know, anyone watching this that is looking for an integrator, right? Like someone like myself, maybe you're the visionary, maybe it's the opposite, you know, maybe you're an integrator, but you need someone that's going to give you that vision. I think it's going to be very tough to find someone outside of kind of your realm, your circle, your sphere, or maybe your organization. Not to say it can't be done, but I think that it lends a lot to that, because kind of like you talked about earlier in the conversation, I didn't come in and go, and we talked a little bit about this before the call, but I didn't come in and not know all the kind of the behind the scenes, like grunge, right? Like, you know, there's this pretty facade out here. And sometimes when people come into our organization, they think it's going to be all dandy and nice and whatever. And everybody's got everything ironed out and it's a well-oiled machine. And then you come in and go, oh, holy crap. Like, you know, they're building the plane as it's flying, right? And we do that a lot. We build the plane while it's flying, because sometimes you can't wait until you have everything perfect just to get it going. You just got to take off and go and figure it out as you go. And admittedly, we do that a lot, which for someone like me in my seat, that makes me uncomfortable a lot because I like to have everything planned. But I think being in my position and working with Veronica and being friends with Veronica, I've learned that that's okay. And I've learned that I have to be confident enough in my position and what I do to know that, okay, when she tells me, all right, we've got to get this thing going, I don't care, I don't want anything stopping this, that I can go, I'm going to be able to pivot us however we need and insert a system or modify an existing system or bring in a staff member or maybe get an existing staff member to say, hey, I know this isn't your position, I know this isn't your department, but I need to lean on you for this thing, and trust that they're going to go, whatever you need, I got it. You know, so I think that's it. I think the friendships helped, but I also think it takes some I don't know, just lack of an ego and just willingness to bend a little bit outside of your comfort zone on both of our parts, right? I learned.
So what I'm hearing from you is you're willing to trust her. You're willing to take a leap when you don't always see it. You know that she sees it, and that's enough for you to take the leap. So as the shotgun leader, who I always tell my clients, like, as the shotgun leader, you are the co-caster of vision. She's the visionary, but you are also casting vision to the rest of the team. How do you kind of lead in that area with your team where they may not always be ready to take the leap? You know, we were talking before the show started about the Zillow thing, and you guys are kind of, Veronica, you're kind of a lightning rod in the industry. Sometimes you're brave and courageous and you step out and you're willing to take risks and do things that some people might not agree with, and that's why you're successful. And I just wonder, as the shotgun leader, how does that look to co-cast that vision to the rest of the team where they're not maybe where you are in terms of ready to leap?
Let's see here. So, you know, I think like she comes with the vision, and I think what I try to do is maybe ratify that vision with logic, right? And systems. And, you know, I try to put it in a way that, I think you're going to have some buy-in with just that vision, right? You have people that already trust her and they're going to trust that vision. And then you have those that don't. And I try to come in because everybody knows like, hey, Chris is like logical. He's left-brained, like, he's kind of that level head. And if he's buying into it, like I should too. And then the way that I kind of give my leadership is in that way. And I think it works the other way too, right? There's a lot of times that I think like, okay, was I really like inspirational on this call? Like, was I inspirational in this meeting? Did I get the buy-in? And then Veronica will make one or two kind of choice comments to back me up. And then I'm like, oh, okay, all right. That's how she did that. I need to learn how to be like that more, less cut and dry. Sometimes I could be very cut and dry. And for someone like me, I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I need. Yeah, you just tell me that. Cool. We're good to go. You gave me the reason, you gave me the support behind it. Cool. But I think sometimes it adds that little pizzazz kind of like brings it in. So it's kind of twofold, right? I think
I like that. So you kind of put she's got this sometimes maybe pie in the sky vision, which isn't really pie in the sky. It's really quite brilliant, but it may sound like pie in the sky, and you put legs on it.
Yeah. And my passion is it is my strength, but it's also my weakness. I listen, I can sell ice to an Eskimo. Everybody has said that. I mean, I can get you pumped up. I say to people, you used to hang around with me too long, you might start believing in yourself, and I'll tell you that we could sell houses on Mars. My son will say, Mom, there's water in Mars. We're selling houses on Mars. I'm like, yeah, let's go. But I think what's interesting is, and for those of you that might say, well, I don't have a friend that I can recruit into this, but maybe you have someone on your team that has so much buy-in, who's ready to grow and evolve, and or someone in the industry that has been following you, or someone that has been seeing your work and has respect for your work, may be that next vision integrator for you, because they might not necessarily be internally, but they have buy-in. And I think that now we're at a point on our team as we grow, it's, when they believe in your mission or they believe in what you're doing, they want to be a part of it. And it's easier to cast a vision and say, hey, listen, guys, I want to just be honest with you guys. We have made some decisions in the past. We've made some mistakes, but we have learned from them. But we've also done some pretty rad stuff that it was that crazy vision that oftentimes people are like, you're crazy. No, that's never going to work. Because we go against the grain. We go against the status quo. This idea here is no different. It's going to be scary. It's going to be bumpy. I promise you we're going to make some mistakes along the way, but we're going to make sure we're building this plane while we're flying it. Nobody's going to freaking fall out of it. And we are going to learn from it and thrive in what this world of real estate looks like. And you trust me? And they're like, we're in. All right, let's go. And Chris is going to figure out how to do it.
That's awesome.
So, it's really that. It's like, I truly believe in things. And just like, the whole iBuyer thing, and like, when we were getting ridiculed, we got slammed in the industry. We got criticized. I've read articles. I actually felt borderline depressed. Like, am I a sellout? I cried myself to sleep. Like, what am I doing? And now it's, a true product. And obviously we know things right now during COVID are crazy, but like, it was that. And it was other things. It was when I bought Remax, people thought I was crazy. When I left Remax and went to Eastman, they thought I was crazy. Like, I had people saying, I remember someone that I, was really close to me at the time, and you are never satisfied. Why can't you just be bored? Why do you have to mess everything up? And it was like, at one point I said,
it's really fun.
Maybe that's what I do. Like, maybe I do need to like just chill. But no, it's not my DNA. My DNA is to keep on pressing. And there will be a point where obviously I take a step back, because I want to have a successor. And I do believe my successor's here, who will then allow me to go and have another vision. And he tells me, look, go coach, go do this, go help teams. You're the queen of teams now. Go build more teams, right? Let me handle this. And at that moment, when I almost let that person convince me that I was crazy, almost let that person convince me that everything was driven based on numbers and that sometimes things don't make, if it doesn't make sense, you shouldn't do it. I started to doubt myself as a leader. I say, stay true to your purpose. There are people who will buy into your vision. Cast your mission out there, let people know, and people will have buy-in into your vision if they're aligned with your passion, your purpose, and they connect with you. your tribe is out there. You just got to continue to seek for that tribe. And I think that that's what makes us special, is that Chris allows me to be me. But I also lean in saying, guys, I'm gonna make some mistakes along the way, but I have a feeling about this, and I have had more success, a lot of failures, but along the way, there's been a good amount of successes that came from this same energy.
I love that. And I think, it's interesting going back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of the call, Chris, that you felt stagnant for 4 years in a role. And I think there's so many people out there in that same boat who are really talented people. They may not proactively be stepping out because they're not Veronica's personality, they're your behavioral profile. And so if you are looking for your integrator, you have to look beyond people who are just looking for jobs. You have to look for people who are in jobs, who have been in jobs for a long time. Like, you're a beautiful example of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And to back up what, Veronica said, I think it's a matter of, maybe they're not a super technical person. Maybe they're not, everything that you envision that you need, but do they believe in your vision? Do they stand up for what you believe in? Are they committed? And if they are, they're going to be willing to learn and step outside their comfort zone. But you might have to literally open their eyes and give them that opportunity, right? For me, there wasn't one there. I said, okay, cool. I did this team thing for a year. I jumped my career of 13 years. I backpacked through Asia for 6 weeks, to kind of get a fresh start. And cool, I did this real estate thing for a year. Now it's time for me to go and do my own thing. Because they didn't see. And then that's when I approached her and I just said, out of respect, I said, and I stressed about it for a really long time. Really stressed. And I just said, hey, we're friends. And I want to be completely transparent up front. And she's like, whatever you're going to tell me, I got your back, and I just said, at some point this year, I will be leaving the team. I want to go independent, and eventually start my own team. To me, that's the next step. And that's when she didn't rear back. She didn't go, oh my God. She said, okay. She said, all right, I support you, whatever you want to do. And that's when she came back to me, a few days later and said, can we meet? Can we talk? I have some things for you. She presented the opportunity to me. Now, maybe it was me that was a catalyst of leaving that kind of had to get her to present it. So maybe not wait for that, right? Because maybe someone you have on your team, the catalyst is going to be like, hey, yeah, I actually already applied and took a job and I'm gone. And now you go, oh my God, what did I just miss out on? They were sitting in front of me for the last 1, 2, 3, 5 years. Make sure you're looking for that to go, maybe if I opened up the opportunity, this person might step. They might be the person I need that I don't think I have.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that Chris didn't know I was at a conference maybe the week before that. And Tony, we were in Denver. At the training with another team, and we met their ops person, and then my husband flew in and met their ops person separately from me, and I was texting him. I said, oh my God. And then we sat in a training together and we literally looked at each other. We said, we need to talk to Chris when we get back. He's our director of ops. Everything that this person needs to do is Chris. And him and I, my husband and I, don't always agree on everything. And that moment was like, we knew it. He was in front of us and we were going to do whatever it took to make sure we casted that vision. Because we also do work together. And my husband, unfortunately, it would be the perfect world if he was my, COO or my, ops person, but we just know our place. And, Chris also knows Tony too. So he's kind of like that safety net for both of us, because he knows, what makes me tick, what makes him tick. And he's like, okay, like I get them. I get this. And we were in sync. In that moment that we looked to the side, we're pointing to the paper, texting each other like, we got to call Chris ASAP. And my husband will say, don't delay on that, because I know how you are. Sometimes you don't think. He's like, make sure you get in front of him immediately when we get back.
Chris, can I ask you, this is sort of a side note, but Lindsay, you'll relate to this too, because Lindsay's husband is in her businesses as well. And I coach a lot of people that have husbands and wives in the same business. What advice do you have for people that are the shotgun leader of a family team?
Oh, wow.
Sometimes you get stuck in the middle between the two.
Yeah, that's the case. And ironically, I was in a similar position with my prior company as well. I think it's your job to just look out for the vision of the company. So I think if it's any recommendation, it's to never lose sight of that, right? That, okay, whatever advice or recommendation, because you may, I mean, thankfully this doesn't happen to us, but like you may get pulled, by one partner versus the other, right? And they're trying to this and that. And one thing actually Rocket Fuel teaches you is there's no end run conversations. And what that is I relate it, the easiest way is, I know mommy's not going to tell me what I like to hear, so I'm going to go ask dad, or I don't know, I know dad doesn't like, and that happens with your team. It could happen in a partnership. So it's always the solution to that is, hey, okay, thank you for bringing this to my attention, but are you going to go talk to him or am I? Because someone's going to go do it. And I think that you should go confront them first, or let's go do it all together. But one way or another, like there's no kind of back talk, right? There's no behind the covers back talk. So I think it's, just keeping the vision in mind and just understanding that your purpose is to further that vision. And by dividing the house or taking sides, it's not going to do anybody any good.
Great advice.
In the long run,
Well, and something that people always want to know, because we're coming up on time here, but how, well, Veronica, how do you plan to keep him engaged? I know you've been talking, basically like he's going to be a partner. He is a partner in your business and a successor, and saying those things. And Chris, that's what somebody like Veronica has to do to keep you around, right?
Yeah. There's got to be, like I said, what made me leave a career of 13 years where comfortable income, comfortable setting, work from home. It was, am I hitting a glass ceiling, and do I want more? And can I get more if I want it, right? And Veronica has always given me that opportunity. Whether it's bringing me along to these conferences, or meeting big people, or sitting at the big tables, but also constantly letting me know that, hey, I see a bigger vision for you, and I'm going to help you build your vision, and my vision now is this building a community where I can help other ops or just other teams in general grow, either help someone start a team or help small teams grow bigger. Like that's why I started my little ops call that I have, right? And I hope to grow that into a bigger community, kind of not dissimilar from what you guys do, right? And she's helping me not only create that vision, but grow that vision and make it a reality, where my own self-limiting thoughts previously would have never thought that true, right? Like I would have just not even think that was possible. But she's put me in a position, escorted me into a position that I know, yeah, I can absolutely do that. And people find my information helpful. And, even if I think it's nothing, they might think that that's the change they need, or the little piece of information they need.
Yeah, for me, I see myself really committed to making sure that his world grows as my world grows, and that hopefully we can grow this world together. And, he's given me the ability to go and work on some things that are, that were just an imagination. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have this vision. And he was like, go do more of that. I've got this taken care of. And once you are able to grow that, we'll talk about what my role is on that, or how he's tied into that. And, my husband and I just launched mortgage, and, we finally did something with title, and we finally doing like all these things that are like little startups. And, had it not been that we had Chris helping us with another major project, we wouldn't have been able to really, look at what those partnerships or opportunities look like. Same thing with growing our growth partners across the country, that when we joined EXP, like I didn't realize the pressure that came with that too. Like people are trusting me, like they're coming to us for answers, or they're, looking for us to coach them, and how I'm now scaling to help those partners who have trusted us. And, that went from just a team of us to now over 700 partners, that it just like, oh, wow. So he's like, go focus on different things. I've got this. So, he truly, I think, not only believes in the Figueroa team, I think he believes in Veronica Figueroa thing in companies. And, I want to continue to grow to support that his goals are met, his dreams are met, because mine are being met. And what does that world look like together, ongoing? And, I think I'm very transparent with Chris. Chris literally knows everything. So it's like, okay, like when I win, you win. When we win, let's win. So let's win. How do we win? Can we start winning? And I think last year we were a brand new startup company. We took everything that we knew, completely unwrapped it, unpackaged it, and tried to rebuild something completely different, because I said, this is what my heart is telling me our future looks like. And if you trust me, we're going to have a lot of fun together. And we have.
And for someone like me, that's exciting, right? Like, how often do you get to be at the ground level of something major, you know? And that's what I saw. That's the vision that I saw in that was.
That's awesome. I love that, because I hear the reverse sometimes from people who aren't as talented as you, where they come into partnership with this visionary who they really like and trust. And then as the visionary continues to be a visionary and build all these other businesses, there's resentment that you're not spending the time with me in this business together. And you look at it the way I would look at it, which is you're creating more opportunity for both of us by doing these other things.
And she's very open to ask me to be a part of it, right? I think some people might say, oh, that's more work than I'm already doing. Whereas we take the approach of, she'll say, hey, I'm building this thing. Do you want to be a part of it? And I'm like, yes, you know, that's great. You know, we'll figure out the work part of it, you know, and how that's going to work. But it's more of like, at least I'm given the opportunity to be a part of that next little venture or whatever it may be, or I want to be a part of that, but my role is the core business right now, but you do that and then see where I fit into that. But there's always a mention of, hey, I'm doing this and I want you to be a part of it. You know, it's always inclusion.
So cool. So much humbleness, so much good stuff there, you guys. Thank you so much for being on today. We really appreciate it. If people want to get a hold of you, if they're interested in EXP, if they're interested in giving you referrals, how do they get in touch with you?
Figueroateam.com is our website. You know, you can find us on social media. That's probably the best way. You know, friend us on Facebook, send us a direct message. I get a lot from kind of, how do I do this with teams? So I'm always happy to help there. And Veronica is obviously, you know, how do I do this crazy thing, or how do I build a team? You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and Chris is this will be one of the things once we hang up, he'll be like, you see, Veronica, that career page where if they wanted this, I have veronicainspires.com. I know how his brain is thinking. He was like, you remember that thing I was telling you? I'm like, yes, go build it. You know, for me, I've made it easy, veronicainspires.com. You can hop on my Calendly, you can hop on, text me, call me, you know, take some of our stuff, copy, duplicate. We don't care. We're a very sharing group. But yeah, you know, we're always here to help. And if you're a team leader, you know, looking to find that ops person, Chris is always willing to share. And like, we love giving back. It's truly how we've grown. So hit us up.
Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. So
Thanks
awesome.
for having us.
Bye.
Bye.